Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today to celebrate the YPI final presentations at Crestwood Preparatory College. My name is Gabriel Pogrin.
And I'm Kian Torabi.
I'm Jean-Luc and will be your host for this year's YPI ceremony. Land recognition is a tradition of showing appreciation and respect that goes back centuries in many indigenous cultures. Today, it is an act of reconciliation that reminds us of our relationship to the land where we live, work, and learn, and asks us to consider how we are honoring and upholding the rights of indigenous people. Crestwood lies on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Today, this territory remains home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with the multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. This artwork is by Métis artist Christy Belcourt and is called Our Lives Are in the Land. In her artist statement, Belcourt says the plants are teachers. They are connected to each other and all other spiritual beings through the sacredness of life. When I remember who I am, a human being connected to all of life, I remember also that I am loved by the spirit world and our ancestors. And when I remember this, I remember to respect even the smallest of things.
I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of those watching either at school or at home. We would also like to thank members of YPI and our judges, Peter Hall, Angelina Juenja, Yael Haas, Mr. Rollins, and Ms. Reinsma for their help in helping us to determine this year's winner. In normal circumstances, this presentation would be live in the gymnasium. Since we are still dealing with COVID-19 for the second consecutive year, we will be having our finals shown on video. In the past 18 years, YPI has worked with hundreds of secondary schools, charities, and funding partners across Canada to shift real grant-making power to young people and to give them an authentic platform to speak up about the issues and services that matter to them in their own communities. YPI is a program where young people, teachers, charity professionals, and funders work together to provide funding to local charities to show our support and solidarity with equity-seeking people and to contribute to the conditions for systemic social change through deep, youth-led research and advocacy, greater public awareness and support, and through more connected and compassionate communities.
Every year, grade 9 and 10 students participate in YPI in their schools and communities all across Canada, the United Kingdom, and New York City. In Canada, more than 12,000 students are participating in YPI this year. Along with the presenters we will see today, and all of our schools' grade 10s who participated in their classes this year, students will deliver thousands of presentations about charities that are helping their own communities and teach thousands of people about social issues and solutions that matter. Thanks to your work, YPI will award almost $500,000 to the charities chosen by students across Canada.
YPI was an opportunity for this year's grade 10 students to learn about the different social issues people are facing in our community and about the valuable work charities are doing to address these issues. Students have shared what they learned through creative projects, and today we will hear from the top groups across the grade level. And a special thanks to YPI supporters for making the program possible this year at our school.
This year, we recognize that there are limited extracurricular activities and ways to get involved and help your community. But to all of the YPI students, you should be really proud of what you accomplished and contributed through YPI. You can and should leverage your contributions in order to continue your journey as an active citizen in school and beyond. YPI is an experience that thousands of students have shared about in scholarship applications, and Lawrence scholarships and TD scholarships for community leaderships are two of the biggest ones in Canada that support students who demonstrate exceptional initiative in making a difference in their community. You'll be eligible in grade 12 and can share about your experiences through your high school career. Getting or staying involved with their YPI charities will contribute to a greater application.
Today, we are going to watch the top presentations from the year. Congratulations, teams on making it to the YPI finals. I know we are all going to learn from you today. After the presentations, we will review the group that has earned a $5,000 grant for their charity. Without further ado, here is the first presentation about Food Share by Tal Shram, Sam Arvini, and Mark Starkman.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Tal, and we are very excited to be introducing you guys to Food Share for our YPI presentation. First, we will be diving deeper into food insecurity and begin talking about Food Share.
When you are hungry, do you know if you can get food? If not, then you are among the 4.4 million Canadians who suffer from food insecurity.
And you might be wondering, what is food insecurity? Well, food insecurity is the state of being without reliable and constant access to a sufficient quantity of affordable and nutritious food. As of 2019, 1 in 5 Toronto households are victims of food insecurity, and that statistic has been increasing due to COVID. That is a staggering number, is it not?
As you can see on this graph, there are varying levels of food security. Very high food security means your household has no problems about accessing good food. Marginal food security means your household occasionally has anxiety about accessing food, but the difference in quality, quantity, and variety of food is not substantial.
Next is low food security, which is where things become problematic. Low food security means your household reduces the quality of your diet, but the quantity of food intake and regular eating patterns were not substantially disrupted.
And finally, very low food security means eating patterns of your household are disrupted and food intake has been drastically reduced due to lack of resources to acquire food. That's where Food Share comes in. Their goal is to ensure that everybody has high food security and has access to nutritious and healthy food.
Food Share is a non-profit organization here in Toronto. They are one of the leading charities for food insecurity in the city. Their main goal is to help those affected by poverty and food insecurity, especially in the BIPOC community. They help nearly 300,000 Torontonians every year. We chose Food Share because we believe that food is a basic human right and hope that one day everyone will have proper access to good food. Food Share has the same value and works every day to make that dream a reality.
Meet Paul M. Taylor, the executive director of Food Share. He's a lifelong anti-poverty activist and started his career because he was affected by material poverty when growing up. And he used his experience to fuel a new career where he helps others and dismantles beliefs and systems that lead to poverty and food insecurity. He's one of the main reasons why Food Share is still operating smoothly today.
So a little history about Food Share. First, in 1980, there was a huge recession that led to increased poverty and hunger, which eventually paved the way for Food Share.
5 years later, Canadian Senator Art Eggleton proposed a program that would help the hungry and called it Food Share. This was the birth of the charity we know today.
In 1995, Eastern Avenue hosted Food Share's first food hub, the Community Garden, which consisted of a rooftop garden, a greenhouse, beekeeping, a kitchen, and a warehouse.
Then, in 2000, Toronto's Food Charter was founded, which secured Toronto's place as a food-secure city. 10 years later, Food Share developed a market on wheels to deliver fruits and vegetables to people's neighborhoods. How cool is that?
Food Share is close to Jane and Eglinton, and they are located on 120 Industry Street in York, Ontario. They share a plaza with some other charities such as the North York Harvest Food Bank. Now, we will be sharing Food Share's values, mission, and vision.
Food Share is an equity-oriented organization, and they have strong beliefs in supporting the BIPOC community, and that they should be given equal opportunities as everybody else. Many of their programs focus on building a sense of community and teaching the importance of celebrating while you eat, whether it's for the person who made it or with the people around you eating it.
Food Share provides a necessary service and gets very little in return. They do this because they believe in kindness and human compassion and work so that they can help and support everybody's community.
Food Share has a very simple yet difficult mission. They want to increase food security and raise awareness for food justice.
When Food Share looks into the future, they want to see a reimagined Toronto, a Toronto where everybody has the ability to feed themselves, their loved ones, and their nearby communities with dignity and joy. We believe that they can eventually get to their vision if they continue to work hard and support the community.
Food Share has a number of programs that are very beneficial to the community. They help reduce stigma around hunger because of how welcoming and inclusive they are for those with food insecurity. which makes it easy for the people who need food to be encouraged to get involved in their programs. Here are a handful of noteworthy ones.
FoodShare runs an amazing program called the Good Food Box. They deliver fresh and healthy food straight to your door. Not only is this an affordable way to keep your fridge stocked, but it's also a convenient way to eat healthier. In addition to produce, you can get fresh bread and pasture-raised meat. Supplies come in different sizes for different families and are delivered to your doorstep every week. FoodShare also gives away emergency good food boxes free of charge to people who suffer from food insecurity during the pandemic.
Mobile good food markets are traveling community food markets filled with fresh, quality vegetables and fruits. Their trucks are no ordinary food truck, but ones that sell pounds of produce, such as okra and broccoli, at cheaper than normal prices. No junk food, no ice cream, no hot dogs, just good food. With FoodShare's current model of development, some neighborhoods don't receive adequate transit service, or people don't own cars, and the local grocery store is just too expensive or far away. But mobile markets save the day.
Community Kitchens is another one of FoodShare's many programs. They host facilitated cooking workshops for small groups and allow their participants to strengthen bonds and develop some culinary skills. Workshops are opportunities for hands-on food preparation with specific menus and goals in mind.
These three programs are just a few examples of what FoodShare does. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about them all, but feel free to read about some of them in your own time at FoodShare's website.
Finally, we will be talking about FoodShare's volunteer work, revenue, results, and plans for the future.
Sadly, due to COVID-19, FoodShare currently cannot hold any volunteering opportunities, but in regular times, you can volunteer on weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can cut vegetables and fruits for wellness boxes, pack produce, do on-site composting, garden at community locations, support food literacy workshops, support special events, and contribute to office support.
Here's a visual representation of FoodShare's revenue in the last 5 years, excluding 2020. The red line represents revenue. As you can see, they spend most of their money on programs. A solid chunk of their revenue goes towards management and administration. Some also goes towards fundraising. FoodShare only spends their revenue on important things so they can keep the charity running and continue to help people.
FoodShare is one of Canada's largest food security organizations, so their success is expected to be high, and it is. As you can see, in 2018, they helped over 260,000 people, and they trained over 8,000 kids and adults. On top of that, they distributed over 1.5 million pounds of produce. FoodShare has 140 employees and paid over $3 million worth of compensation for all of them. It is evident that FoodShare really cares about their workers and what they do. And considering how high these numbers are, they're doing a fantastic job.
FoodShare has also been hosting a number of public education and outreach events. They recently hosted a panel focused on migrant agricultural workers' rights, hosted by youth activist and leader Jackson Sang. It highlighted the role the youth can play in advocating for worker rights.
With COVID-19, FoodShare is providing additional support through donating personal protective equipment, such as donating 3,000 masks along with other items like gloves, disinfecting wipes, and hand sanitizer. This year, they are also donating to markets so that they can decrease the cost of produce for the community. This is crucial because of the job loss over the past year.
We asked FoodShare what they would do if we won and received a $5,000 grant. And they said that they would like to support 19 good food markets that are operating all over the city. They use donations and grants to subsidize the cost of fresh food in order to make it accessible to folks who have low income. They also said the funds go into a pool that ultimately impacts all of their programs and initiatives. Very importantly, these types of funds can contribute to paying salaries so that the people who do good work can earn a decent wage.
On top of that, FoodShare wants to provide virtual learning opportunities for all ages about food justice. Since COVID, they have altered their classroom workshops as an at-home series called Chefs at Home. They feature Toronto-based BIPOC chefs who, through this initiative, show young people the love of sharing good food and demonstrate how to build a career in food services. Workshop participants receive a delivery of fresh ingredients to support their recipes. And there's enough to feed the whole family, which is so important now that many students can rely on school meals and snack programs.
We hope you learned something you didn't know about food insecurity, along with how big of an issue it is.
Families are having a tougher time than ever to afford the food they need, which is why we appreciate how dedicated FoodShare is to supporting the community.
thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and I hope you can support FoodShare along with us.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Tao, Sam, and Mark. We will now have Karianne Engelbert, Evan Prosserman, and Simran Anand make your presentations about the Women's Abuse Council of Toronto.
Women's Abuse Council of Toronto
by Karianne Engelbert,
Evan Prosserman,
and Simran Anand.
A young woman fell in love and got married to a man who lived in Canada. He would write love letters and made her feel like the luckiest girl in the world. Eventually, the young woman left everything behind to be with him. Then the manipulation started, expectations and rules. Don't talk to anyone but him, never lie to him, never cross him or question him, never step out of the apartment without him. What followed was physical and mental abuse. Her health started going downhill. Osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, insomnia, depression, and even cancer, all because of an abusive partner. 23 years later, Nisha left her abuser.
In 2018, it was reported that almost 100,000 people in Canada experienced partner violence. Out of the 100,000, 80,000 were women.
The people most impacted by domestic violence are women between the ages of 18 to 24. Violence is, in fact, the leading cause of homelessness for women. Most women fear that they will no longer have access to safe and affordable housing if they leave an abusive relationship. In this cycle of dependence, women get trapped in abusive relationships and don't know how to escape. Women are often subjected to physical and mental abuse, which can have long-term severe health impacts.
At the start of the pandemic, many domestic abuse hotlines prepared for an increase in calls, but surprisingly, the opposite happened. These hotlines experienced a drop of more than 50% fewer calls. Because of numerous lockdowns and restrictions, domestic violence victims get stuck in isolation with their abusers.
Women Act works collaboratively to eradicate violence against women through community mobilization, coordination, research, policy, and education.
The values they promote are gender equity, inclusion, partnership and collaboration, learning and innovation, as well as transparency and accountability.
Women Act envisions a world where all women are safe and have access to equal opportunities.
Unfortunately, we were not able to contact any domestic violence victims, but here is a quick video from Miss Liren.
Hi, thank you so much for your interest in Women Act. My name is Liren Doherty and I'm the manager of programs at Women Act. Women Abuse Council of Toronto is a policy and planning body that is based in Toronto that works to eradicate violence against women. We do this by addressing the root causes of violence against women. So we conduct research, we deliver education, and most importantly, we bring together people to mobilize and change policy. This work is really important because we know that these are not individual issues or problems we are addressing. Violence against women is a systemic problem and we must address it from a systemic perspective. Thank you.
In 2020, 250 survivors were engaged in research, 103 survivors were engaging in developing local policy, and 151 community organizations were brought together to improve coordination of services. On top of this, 3 research projects were undertaken and 12 public consultations were held on gender-based violence.
Women Act is based in the East End of Toronto, and they work across the GTA. However, their impact is greater than most charities operating at the local level, as they also work in provincial and national initiatives. Community support and commitment to their mission have enabled them to engage survivors in decision-making, improve the services and supports available to survivors of violence, and advocate for bold policy solutions. They don't just work within themselves, but they work with many other companies committed to ending gender-based violence and advancing gender equity. They work with people in the community to achieve their objectives.
Women Act not only has programs to make women feel safer at home, but they do a ton of research into how to improve their services. They often work with survivors to deepen their understanding of modern domestic violence. This understanding helps their research to be more thorough and effective.
Women Act has 3 big programs. The first is the Safe at Home project, which is community-based. This project researches policies, programs, and practices that support women to stay in their own home or by themselves when or after leading an unhealthy, abusive, or violent relationship.
Another one of their programs is a Tech for Women's Justice project. This project is about researching women's experiences in seeking access to legal help and support through technology. They are studying women's violence, technology, and access to justice. It does community-based research with survivors and brings them together to find solutions for women in need of help.
Their final project is the Financial Abuse Project. This project is about researching financial abuse and how it can be a form of intimate partner violence. They studied survivors' history and experience with financial abuse and try to create solutions and develop strategies to address financial abuse through prevention and education. They work with policymakers, community agencies, and financial institutions to ensure programs, policies, and practices to identify financial abuse and support women to be financially independent.
One of the big reasons that Women Act stands out in its variety of programs is opportunities. Most charities that specialize in getting women out of abusive situations fail to look at the bigger picture. In the world we live in today, women need more than just to be given a place to stay. Abusive partners have many ways to contact their victims, including social media or with the use of technology. Women Act also holds events and provides education for all women to know how to stand up to an abusive partner. In fact, on their website, they caution women about making sure that their abuser doesn't know they're using this website. Through research and witness testimonies, our charity broadens its horizon to take multiple things into account.
The biggest thing that makes our charity stand out is the fact that they do research. This charity has done several research papers about domestic violence against women. They have over 30 official papers published on their website. Publications are categorized under fact sheet, infographic, issue brief, policy brief, program report, or research. A big part of their studies involves volunteers. You can volunteer to be a part of the research team, or you can volunteer to share your experience. A big part of their goal is to make services accessible to those around them, and to spread awareness about the bigger issue. And what better way to do that than improving programs and services based on research and stories of real-life women who had to face something so awful.
Currently, there are 2 volunteer opportunities. The first is volunteering as a blog contributor volunteer. They would be writers who would contribute to the Women Act blog. Articles can be about any feminist content related to research, policy, or issues that the writer finds essential. The second volunteer opportunity is a research support volunteer. Research support volunteers would help with ongoing research and policy development activities.
During COVID, the primary way they raise funds is through donations made on their website. People who donate can leave an optional message or choose to dedicate their contributions to someone.
Not only would $5,000 give them the added money to find solutions to save so many more women and create more equality in society, $5,000 would let them advocate for women's safety and drive for progress in gender equality.
On a regular year, most of the $5,000 would go to hiring program staff. It is these qualified individuals that will be able to advise and educate women on how to become independent after leaving an abusive situation. However, for now, the $5,000 would be used to ensure that women, especially women survivors, are involved in pandemic recovery planning. The pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on survivors of domestic violence, and Women Act has seen an increase in domestic violence in the last year. The $5,000 would support the Women Abuse Council of Toronto to hold meetings with local government and decision makers to ensure that there are policies, programs, and funding directed towards women to keep them safe.
To help end the stigma around violence against women, we need to increase public education on violence against women, increase discussion on violence against women in families, schools, and other public spaces. But the most important thing we can do is increase awareness of violence against women and its root causes. What if your loved one is going through this? Domestic violence is present in everyday life, no exceptions. Your brother, sister, son, daughter, friend could be dealing with mental and physical abuse every day, and you wouldn't even know it. It is time to take action, and the Women's Abuse Council of Toronto is here to help, with committed staff members, reliable services, but most importantly, they make sure that their programs can reach anyone and everyone. They make sure that they are always offering the best and most up-to-date programs possible. So let me ask you this. Who here wants to be a puppet for someone? Who here thinks that we need to end the cycle of suffering, even if it's just one person at a time? Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation, Karianne, Evan, and Simran. Our final presentation will be about Holland-Bloorview Rehab by Jean-Luc, Audet, and Michael Lawson.
The Holland-Bloorview Foundation, YPI presentation by Michael Lawson and Jean-Luc Audet. The Holland-Bloorview Foundation is a charity in Toronto founded in 1996 and has its roots from all the way back to 1899. The foundation focuses on improving the lives of children with disabilities, giving them opportunities that they would never get elsewhere. They provide education and hospital assistance using their abundance of programs. Holland-Bloorview has 55 active programs on their website that are mostly for education or for specific disabilities. These programs implement care for rehabilitation and complex care needs. Holland-Bloorview also enables children to participate in life to the fullest. They do so by providing many food services, therapy facilities, and recreational areas at the hospital. The Holland-Bloorview Foundation is very adamant about their vision, which is to have the most meaningful and healthy futures for all children, youth, and families. Holland-Bloorview has 5 important core values which the charity thrives upon. They are courage and resilience, compassion, excellence, equity, and innovation. The one that resonates most with me is innovation, since I think it's very important to improve things in the most creative ways possible. Michael feels connected to the core value of compassion. He feels it's important to show empathy and compassion for those with disabilities because it makes it easier to connect with others. It lets us see things from their perspective and to make sure we listen and understand what they tell us. Here is a video to give you a peek on what Holland-Bloorview is like.
Dear everybody, let me tell you about Holland-Bloorview. It's an incredible place filled with possibility. Here at Holland-Bloorview, we help kids like me be their best self. In fact, kids and their families are at the center of all that we do. We always work together to find ways to do things better. We are creative and solve problems. We do research to find new ways to help kids and families. We provide the best care possible, strengthening bodies, minds, and futures. We want the best for everyone that comes through our doors. We learn and bring people together. We ask for help when we need it and volunteer our time. And we always work hard, but you might not always see us. We are always thinking about life beyond our walls and making sure everyone is heard. Care takes place all day long in every corner of the hospital. Our teams are resilient and love working with people. And we also have lots of fun along the way. We all support and learn from each other to create a world of possibility. Dear everybody, this is Holland-Bloorview.
Holland-Bloorview helps so many people. It provides client and family-centered care for over 8,000 families each year, with 450 inpatient admissions and 55,000 outpatient visits per year. There have also been a total of 3,070 virtual appointments during COVID. They deal with a large complexity of clients in which 11% have more than 10 diagnoses each, and 72% of clients have more than one diagnosis. The most common diagnoses are brain injury, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and autism spectrum disorder.
Like previously mentioned, Holland-Bloorview helps the kids who attend the hospital with all programs and services they have implemented throughout the charity. To the right, you can see a full list of the programs and services. Some programs that stood out were the Integrated Education and Therapy Program, Lifespan Program, and Robotics Program. For starters, the Integrated Education and Therapy Program ensures all students access to support, safety, inclusion, and well-being while they're in class. Then try to prepare them fully so that they can be integrated into their community schools. Next, the Lifespan Program teaches support and education to children so they can reach the optimal health and wellness. Finally, the robotics program gets children to think logically and refine decision-making skills, all while socializing and making friends. They build their robots out of Lego, which is perfect for inspiring creativity in its user.
Holland-Bloorview has had a huge impact on kids and their families. For those attending Holland-Bloorview, the inpatient survey shows 79% of patients were more communicative, 94% were more sociable, and 70% were less anxious. The Independence Program works with young adults with cognitive disabilities to help them reach their full potential. The results show that there were higher levels of life satisfaction and overall quality of life reported. Nearly every respondent reported using the skills they learned at the program in their lives afterwards, and most had felt that they learned core life skills because of participating in HB programs. I recently had the pleasure of interviewing Julian, a client of Holland-Bloorview. It is important for us to learn about the extraordinary people there. Julian has been going to HB for 18 years, and his favorite part is seeing all the familiar faces as he always bumps into someone that he knows. The people who work there seem to genuinely care. They always remember him and the stories he has told them. He is an ambassador for the foundation and loves to tell stories to the public. This has really helped his self-confidence. HB has helped him deal with his pain issues to find therapies. He was part of a research on cognitive behavior which has helped his pain. He has also attended weekend programs and summer camps. They have helped him when there was no support for him in his community. Holland-Bloorview has a special campaign called Dear Everybody. Dear Everybody wants to change the media by asking companies and producers to include more people with disabilities in their creations. Filmmaker Arshal Agoyan partnered with HB for a project to show why disability inclusion in the media is so important. Julian was chosen as an actor for the film Abstinence. In it, he plays a character named Andrew, who is left with his aunt and grandmother after his mother disappears. Julian said it was a great experience, that he learned a lot about how to control his body movements, and he said that he would love to act again. We encourage everyone in our class to sign up to help. Please join and demand that those with disabilities belong on your screens and sign the Dear Everybody agreement. Holland-Bloorview is known all around the world for research in this area, creating possibilities through client and family-centered research and education in pediatric rehabilitation. It is Canada's largest institute for children with disabilities and is affiliated with the University of Toronto. Its innovations include a virtual musical instruments, also an MRI technology called Prisma. It has unique projections on the wall to create a feeling of being anywhere, like in outer space. It is child-friendly and the room is made of glass so that family members can watch the entire procedure. It is also fully accessible to meet the needs of all who need it. Emicon Lite is a tool for kids with disabilities to play games and control applications using their brain signals. An anxiety meter is a device to measure a child's anxiety through heart rate. And a brain-computer interfaces. This controls their environment by thinking about it, and this helps those who are nonverbal to communicate with others using their thoughts. These are just some of the many innovations that Holland-Bloorview has to offer.
While we don't know for sure where the money for a YPI grant will go, we do know what it's most likely going to contribute to based on Holland-Bloorview's financial statements. Holland-Bloorview aims to be as open and as honest as possible, and it shows that off by giving everyone and anyone access to see their financial statements. After visiting the statements of last year, I was able to see that they spent their donations on supplies, equipment, and salaries. Supplies and equipment are pretty similar, since they both are doing things that the hospital needs to run. They can be toys, beds, food, wheelchairs, etc. Salaries are important because it's what allows Holland-Bloorview to hire employees and allows those employees to make a living. Here is a list of the sources we used for our presentation. Also, big thanks to Julian and to Mia from the Holland-Bloorview Foundation for responding to our emails and helping us with information. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Wow, those were some incredible presentations. Thank you, finalists. We applaud you for rising to this important challenge. It takes courage to stand up for something you believe in. Today is about our community. It is about understanding the real social issues that people are facing every day, and about learning the vital role of local charities and the services they provide. It's also about reflecting on our part in making our communities more compassionate and caring places for everyone to live.
Today is also about recognizing and showing our gratitude for the efforts of all the educators, students, families, and charities who brought YPI to life this year for your school and community.
Again, a special thanks to YPI supporter for making the program possible this year at their school. Every YPI team teaches an average of 50 new people about the social issue and local charity. What you have all done this year is an accomplishment, and we're grateful for your efforts to make our community a more compassionate place. I urge you all to stay involved with the charities you have represented in YPI. Keep raising awareness, keep breaking stigma, keep challenging yourself, and keep volunteering in ways that are meaningful to you and your community.
And now it's time to announce the winner of Crestwood's YPI grant.
The winner is the Women's Abuse Council of Toronto.
Thank you again to all the participants, and congratulations again to Karianne, Evan, and Simran. It is truly a fantastic achievement given the circumstances of this year.
This concludes YPI at CPC for the 2020-2021 school year. We hope that next year we will be back to normal and hosting the finals in person in the gym. Take care, CPC.